Alright, Zero Dawn, the Frozen Wilds features upgraded versions of the weapons we know and love, and they are super strong now. So let's take a look at these new bows in this video. What's new? Let's compare them with the shadow versions and more. If you like that, then a like would be super appreciated, and let's go. It costs you a total of 42 blue gleam to get all the weapons in the Frozen Wilds, and no, this does not change on the ultra hard mode. On New Game Plus though, you need to get a part of the new machine as well to buy the new weapons. I got this question a lot, so I wanted to address it right away. It's still the same amount of blue gleam though on the New Game Plus mode, and I think that makes sense because the amount of blue gleams you can get from quest rewards or other rewards and the amount you can find in the world does not change on the New Game Plus mode. And I think that Guerrilla Games balanced it well, that if you complete most of the activities you got enough to buy all the items. I will have a video up about the blue gleam really soon, or maybe it's already up by the time you watch this. In that case you can already click on the screen. Anyway, going back to the new improved bows, the name changed. The Sharpshot bow is now called the Banuk Power Shot bow, the War bow is now called Banuk Champion bow, and the Hunter's bow is now called Banuk Striker bow. And they all have 3 mod slots and 4 mod slots if you play on the New Game Plus mode. I like the look of the new bows, by the way. They all have some sort of fur or a Banuk touch. Of course it makes sense because they are Banuk expired, but I still really like the design. So apart from being way stronger than the previous bows, I will touch on the new stats in a second here. They also have an awesome special feature. All bows can now charge up to unleash a more powerful attack. For example, here I use the Banuk Power Shot bow without any mods. It deals 105 damage on ultra hard when charged up and 53 with a regular shot on the same part of the machine. So that's around the double amount of damage. And now I hear you think, okay, I can better unleash multiple arrows faster than charge up my bow, because especially the Power Shot bow takes a while to fully charge, so I can maybe hit 3 arrows by the time it's fully charged. Well, of course that would cost more arrows, but also the chargeability really works well with multiple arrows at once. Being able to unleash 3 shots with a fully charged Power Shot bow is really powerful. Also worth noting and super interesting is that your handling mods decrease the time it takes to charge up your bow. So while having a full damage mods on the Sharpshot bow first made a lot of sense, now you can also think, let's remove 1 damage mod and put a handling mod on instead, so I can faster charge up my bow to deal double the amount of damage. A charge shot for the elemental arrows mean that the animal will burn or freeze faster, of course depending on the arrow you use. So overall it's a really nice fun feature. It makes you think, okay, am I going to charge it up with the chance that the enemy will hit me, or am I going to shoot now with a guaranteed hit? My tip would be begin every fight with already loading up 3 arrows on every bow, then shoot the first with a charged shot, then see if you can probably freeze him. I always start my fight with a charged shot of the freezing arrows, make sure that I freeze the enemy fast, and then because I already have 3 arrows loaded on my Banuk Power Shot bow, aka the Sharpshot bow, I can charge that up while the enemy is like freezing. So when he of course becomes frozen, he kinda has this stunned effect, so you have the time to charge up your bow, shoot those 3 arrows, do a ton of damage, and really that will help you a lot. Also great is combining the charge shot with a slow motion, so you have a better chance to hit and even follow up with a second shot. These weapons, man, I love the new way of thinking. I really enjoy them. So we got the charged shots, but the weapons overall are also improved in terms of stats. The stats for the weapons are the same on the New Game Plus mode, you just have an extra mod slot, just like with the Adapt versions. And the bows are also called Adapt Power Shot bow instead of the Banuk Power Shot bow, for example. All the stats I mentioned will be for the ultra hard mode, so keep that in mind if you're playing on normal or a lower difficulty than ultra hard, that your damage will be higher. But still the difference should be the same. Let's start with my favorite, the Banuk Power Shot, aka Sharpshot bow. The handling on both the bows is still 20. For the precision arrow we got 42 damage and 15 tear with the shadow variant, and the Banuk Power Shot bow has 70 damage and 25 tear. So a huge increase in damage, dealing almost double the amount of damage. The tear arrow is the same, and the damage of the harvest arrow is insanely increased from 7 damage to 35 damage, and the tear from 25 to 30. So the damage is 5 times as high for the harvest arrows, meaning that the harvest arrows are now way better to use with the Banuk Power Shot bow. Of course, with the harvest arrows you can shoot off parts from the machines, not wildlife sadly, and then have a better chance of getting the loot you want. So an increased chance to get the hearts, to get the lenses, etc, etc. So the CDAM really increased, and then you also have the charged shot. So then you should really get some machine parts with this Banuk Powershot bow using the harvest arrows. I use the sharp shot bow a lot, so I got the Banuk Powershot as fast as I could, and I really enjoy it. Moving over to the enhanced hunter's bow, aka the Banuk striker bow. Again, the handling is the same, but the regular arrow damage is increased from 11 to 28, and there is a 20 increase for the tear. The Via arrows, the arrow I use this bow for most often, is also increased with 3 extra damage and 25 fire instead of 13. The hardpoint arrows damage is also going up from 21 to 49 and Verdiate tier to 45. So again, almost double the amount of power. Again, a really nice bow. Moving over to the Banuk Champion bow, aka a better version of the War bow. And here I will look at the Lodge War bow instead of the Shadow version, since you will probably be rocking that as well. So the Banuk Champion bow has again the same handling, basically a 10 increase in all the elemental arrows. So 15 to 25 in shock, 15 to 25 in frost, and 30 to 40 in corruption. But then you also have the charged shots, and all the numbers I mentioned for the Banuk bows should be almost double when you charge it up. So really improved, totally worth getting. And what's interesting is that where with the shadow variants you can get multiple of the same bows, for example 2 shadow sharpshot bow, 1 for tear, 1 for damage. Not the case here, but what I think you can do if you want multiple versions of the Banuk weapons is just start a New Game Plus mode. Of course, when you already got the Banuk weapons, then in your New Game Plus you go to the Frozen Wilds area, go to the store, collect the Blue Gleam and buy the weapons again. I think that that's a nice way to get all the weapons. I mean, that's probably the only way to get all the weapons in multiple versions. And I know some of you want that. Like I said, a sharpshot bow for tier, 1 for damage, or multiple sharpshot bow with only damage. So you can switch and already have 3 arrows loaded up. With the charge, that's a really nice tactic. Again, take some time, but it is possible, I think. So there you have it, the new weapons of the Frozen Wilds, the new bows that is, because there are also other new weapons that I will go into in another video. So if you like that, then a like would be super appreciated. Of course, subscribe to stay up to date on way more Horizon on the Frozen Wilds content. Check out my review on the channel right now, and of course, I will speak to you next time. Goodbye.